What did ancient humans do at night? Tonight, you'll fall asleep in a room full of gentle electronic hums, a charger light, a standby LED on the TV, a street lamp leaking through the curtain. Your brain will drift off while your eyes close against a world that never really goes dark. But for 300,000 years, that wasn't an option. When the sun went down, the world didn't dim. It vanished. The kind of darkness where you couldn't see your own hand if you held it an inch from your face. The kind of darkness most modern humans have never experienced, not once in their entire lives. So what did people do? They didn't just sit there. They didn't just sleep. They did something we've almost completely forgotten. They invented us. Everything that makes you human, your art, your music, your religion, your sense of story, your understanding of the stars above you, was built in the dark. The night was an empty time between 2 days. For most of human history, the night was where the important things happened. Let's start with what your ancestors saw when they looked up. You have probably never seen the real sky. The stars you see on a clear night in most of the world aren't the real stars. Light pollution hides about 99% of what's actually up there. Your ancestors saw the Milky Way stretching across the sky like a river of light. They saw thousands of stars. They saw planets moving against fixed constellations. They saw meteors streak across the dark night after night, generation after generation, and they started noticing things. They noticed that some lights didn't move and some did. They noticed that the stars came back in the same patterns every year. They noticed that certain stars appeared right before the rains came or right before the animals migrated. This was astronomy. It wasn't invented by Greeks or Babylonians. It was invented by hunters sitting in the dark, watching the sky, for tens of thousands of years before writing existed. A 20,000-year-old bone found in the Congo, called the Ishango bone, has markings that may track lunar cycles. A 40,000-year-old ivory tablet found in Germany appears to map the constellation Orion. These weren't decorations, they were calendars. Your ancestors were doing math in the dark long before they had a word for math. The sky was their first library, and they read it every night. Now let's talk about what they made. The oldest human art we've ever found is cave paintings. Lascaux, Chauvet, Altamira. You've seen the pictures, handprints, horses, bison, mysterious geometric shapes. But here's the part most people miss. These caves are pitch black inside, not dim, black. You cannot paint in a cave without light, which means every single one of these paintings was made by the flickering orange glow of a torch or oil lamp, often hundreds of meters underground. Archaeologists have found stone lamps inside these caves. Some of them still had traces of animal fat used as fuel. Picture it, a human, 30,000 years ago, crawling through a narrow tunnel with a lamp in one hand, pigments in a pouch, going deep into the earth to paint horses that nobody would see for the next 30,000 years. Why? We still don't really know. Some archaeologists think the paintings were religious. Others think they were created during altered states, possibly while the artist was in a trance. The flickering firelight would have made the painted animals seem to move on the walls. Whatever the reason, the world's first artists worked in the dark, using fire as their only light, creating images they couldn't even see properly while making them. This is how we became a species that makes things that aren't for survival. Now here's something that's going to sound strange. Your ancestors didn't sleep through the night. For most of human history, nobody did. People slept in 2 separate blocks, about 4 hours each, with a gap of wakefulness in the middle. This was normal. It was so normal that there were specific words for it in most European languages. First sleep, second sleep. And during that gap in the middle, which could last 1 or 2 hours, people did things. Some lay in bed and talked to whoever was next to them. Some had sex, which, according to a 16th century French physician, was biologically the ideal time for it. Some prayed. Some told their dreams to each other while they were still fresh, because the dreams of the night were taken seriously, sometimes as messages, sometimes as warnings. Then they went back to sleep, until dawn. In 1992, a scientist named Thomas Ware tested this. Took volunteers and put them in 14 hours of darkness every night for a month. No screens, no lamps, no artificial light at all. Within weeks, every single one of them had slipped into the same rhythm. 4 hours of sleep, 1 to 2 hours of quiet wakefulness, 4 more hours of sleep. Nobody taught them this. Their bodies just remembered. The really strange part is what happened in their brains during the waking hours. They showed elevated levels of a hormone called prolactin, the same hormone released during deep meditation. They described feeling peaceful, reflective, calm in a way they'd never felt during normal daytime life. There was an entire state of human consciousness that your ancestors experienced every single night and that almost no modern human has ever known. Now think about what happened during those quiet hours for tens of thousands of years. A human wakes up in the dark. It's silent. There's no work to do, no task to complete. Just the fire, the stars, and the people sleeping around them. What happens in a mind like that? You remember things. You think about the people you've lost. You think about the conversations you had that day. You think about what tomorrow might bring. You feel the weight of your own existence, quietly, without distraction. This is where humans first ask the big questions. Why are we here? What happens when we die? What is that light in the sky? What are dreams, religion, philosophy, mythology, all of it? Born in the quiet hours between first and second sleep, we traded it for scrolling our phones at 2 a.m. There's one more thing your ancestors did at night that we've almost completely forgotten. They made music. The oldest musical instrument ever found is a flute made from a vulture's wing bone, about 40,000 years old. It was discovered in a cave in Germany. But the flute isn't really the beginning. Music is older than that, much older. Before instruments, humans had their voices, their hands, their feet. They clapped, they stomped, they sang, and they almost certainly did most of this at night around fires. Anthropologists who've lived with modern hunter-gatherer groups report the same pattern. During the day, people work in silence or near silence. Too much noise scares prey and attracts predators. But at night, the rules change. Songs come out, rhythms start, stories get told with drums and voices and bodies moving in firelight. There's a theory among some evolutionary biologists that music evolved specifically as a social bonding tool for these gatherings. Group singing releases endorphins. It synchronizes heartbeat. It creates the feeling that you are one thing with the people around you. Your ancestors spent every night for tens of thousands of years generating exactly that feeling, around a fire, under the stars, with people they would live and die for. And here is the part that should make you stop. You were built for this. Your body still releases prolactin during deep rest. Your brain still responds to flickering firelight with calm. Your genes are still the genes of people who spent half their lives in absolute darkness, telling stories, making music, looking up at a sky full of meaning. But you've never experienced any of it. You've never looked up at a true night sky. You've never slept in two natural phases. You've never sat around a fire with your whole community and felt the strange peace that comes from the dark. We didn't just invent electricity. We didn't just light up the night. We evicted ourselves from the place where we became human. And most of us have no idea what we lost.